The worst advice about fatty liver is repeated every single day, quietly pushing your liver into deeper damage. Patients are told to eat many small meals, avoid fat, load up on carbohydrates, eat plenty of fruit, replace meals with juices, and believe that medication alone will fix everything. In reality, this advice keeps insulin elevated all day long, overworks the liver, accelerates fat accumulation, and prolongs inflammation. If you are struggling with fatty liver, it is time to stop following familiar advice, understand the real mechanism, and recognize the problem clearly. One of the most common recommendations given to people with fatty liver is eat many small meals throughout the day to keep your blood sugar stable and avoid hunger. It sounds reasonable, but physiologically, it is one of the fastest ways to make fatty liver worse. Every time you eat, whether it is a small or large amount, your body must release insulin to manage blood sugar. When you eat constantly throughout the day, insulin never has the chance to return to its baseline. Chronically elevated insulin not only blocks fat burning, but also signals the body to store more fat, including liver fat. A liver already overloaded with fat is forced to store even more, leaving it no opportunity to clean itself. The liver needs downtime to burn fat, but a dense eating schedule removes that recovery window. Instead of helping, frequent meals push the liver into non-stop overwork with no time to repair. From the eat many meals advice, many people are further instructed by doctors or nutritionists to eat exactly 5 meals a day to avoid overeating. This approach may work for healthy individuals, but it backfires for those with insulin resistance. When insulin becomes resistant, the body must release even more of it to achieve the same effect. The result? The more often you eat, the higher insulin stays, and the deeper the metabolic spiral becomes. Many patients report that they followed the 5-meal routine strictly, yet their condition never improved. But when they switched to intermittent fasting and reduced carbohydrates, their hunger decreased, cravings faded, and their health markers began improving. It is not simply eating less in a mechanical sense. They created the biological space the liver needs to rest and process accumulated fat. Eating less frequently does not weaken the liver. On the contrary, it gives the liver the chance to repair itself. Another major misconception is assuming that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, is simply a milder version of alcoholic fatty liver. In reality, the two conditions have different triggers but cause the same type of damage. NAFLD arises primarily from fructose and insulin, whereas alcoholic fatty liver comes from ethanol. People often treat these as separate issues, but the liver does not judge sugar or alcohol through a moral lens. Both ethanol and fructose are processed almost exclusively by the liver. When the same organ is overloaded, the inevitable result is fat buildup, chronic inflammation, and loss of function. If alcohol used to be the main culprit, then today sugar, especially fructose, has taken that place. When it comes to fructose and insulin, they are the most harmful duo. Many people believe that only alcohol damages the liver, while soft drinks, fruit juices, and syrups are harmless because they are natural. The truth is, the liver does not care about the source, only the molecule. Fructose goes straight to the liver. Very few tissues can help process it. Imagine an organ that weighs less than 2 kilograms being forced to manage sugar intended for the entire body. When fructose becomes excessive, the liver has no choice but to convert it into fat as a temporary storage method. But as the storage fills up, fat accumulates faster and inflammation intensifies. Insulin acts like a gatekeeper that constantly commands fat to be stored and prevents it from being released. The result is an overloaded warehouse with no exit. This brings us back to the advice. Eat low-fat and high-carb to reduce liver fat. It sounds logical on the surface, but is completely incorrect in terms of physiology.
The fat stored in the liver does not come primarily
from dietary
fat.
fat. It comes from carbohydrates converted into fat. Insulin is the key that drives fat into cells. Sugar and starch raise insulin, not dietary fat. When you reduce fat but increase carbohydrates, you are removing the component that is relatively harmless and adding the component most harmful to the liver. Fatty cuts of meat do not automatically turn into liver fat when insulin is low, but white rice, bread, and sweets can easily disguise themselves as visceral fat. Another imposter comes in the deceptively healthy-sounding form of vegetable oils. Many people believe oils made from corn, soy, or canola are heart-healthy choices. However, most of these oils contain extremely high omega-6 levels compared to omega-3, creating a pro-inflammatory environment in the body. On top of that, the refining process involves high heat, high pressure, and chemical solvents. The oils become oxidized, their molecular structures damaged, and once inside the body, they become an additional burden on the liver. The liver must process not only the fat itself, but also the industrial byproducts that come with it. Inflammation, insulin resistance, and fatty liver increase as a result. Then comes the wave of diet, low-calorie, and sugar-free foods. These labels give consumers a dangerously false sense of security. Sugar is removed but replaced with artificial sweeteners. Fat is taken out but substituted with modified starches and additives. The human body is designed to process real, natural food, not a chemical ingredient list. Health is not determined by calories, but by hormones. Two people can consume the same amount of energy, yet have completely different biological responses depending on their hormonal environment. Blaming calories oversimplifies a complex problem and hides the true root cause. Another misconception is treating fruit juice, and smoothies as detox solutions. Whole fruit contains fiber, which slows sugar absorption. But when fruit is juiced or blended, most of that fiber is removed. The sugar becomes concentrated, and it enters the bloodstream rapidly. A single glass of juice can contain the sugar of several whole fruits, yet drinking is always faster and easier than eating. The liver does not distinguish sugar from mango versus sugar from syrup. It only sees fructose to be processed. When you drink fruit instead of eat fruit, you flood the liver with a large sugar load in a very short time. Berries may be a relative exception due to low sugar and high fiber, but most tropical fruits are extremely rich in fructose. Finally, there is the issue of statins. Many people with fatty liver are prescribed cholesterol-lowering medication almost automatically. While statins undeniably play an important role in specific cardiovascular cases, using them to treat fatty liver is a misunderstanding of the problem. Statins block the pathway that produces cholesterol, but also reduce the production of CoQ10, a critical factor for cellular energy generation. The liver requires a significant amount of ATP to heal itself, and when its energy supply is reduced, recovery becomes even more difficult. The medication may improve lab numbers, but if the root causes, insulin and fructose, are not addressed, the disease is merely hidden, not resolved. What is the common thread among all these misguided recommendations? They treat the symptoms while ignoring the cause. The body does not operate according to a simple nutrition chart. It functions through an intricate network of hormones, enzymes, and chemical signals. The liver is not weak. It is overloaded by the wrong information and the wrong habits. When your understanding is wrong, your actions follow, and the liver pays the price. There is no magical food, no pill that can cleanse the liver if your lifestyle continues to fuel it with sugar and insulin. What you should worry about is not eating the wrong meal once, but hearing the wrong advice every single day. Over time, repeated advice becomes truth, and false truth leads to real consequences. The liver has an extraordinary ability to heal, but only when you stop getting in its way. Reducing meal frequency instead of increasing it, controlling carbohydrates instead of fearing fat, avoiding industrial oils, being cautious with diet foods, staying mindful of juices and smoothies, and not expecting medication to fix what lifestyle created. These are not tips or hacks, but a way of respecting biology. If you find it difficult to choose correctly amid a forest of conflicting information, look at mechanisms instead of marketing. Ask yourself, does this raise insulin or lower it? Does this give the liver rest or make it work harder? These questions are more powerful than any slogan. The liver does not need miracles. It needs you to stop making life harder for it. And when you stop, the body begins to repair itself, quietly, steadily, and effectively. The sad reality is that many doctors know the right direction, but do not explain everything because they believe most patients will not stay consistent. Meanwhile, patients become confused, overwhelmed by too much conflicting information, trying one approach, abandoning it, jumping to another, and ultimately going nowhere. This does not mean you need to reject medicine. It means you need to let go of blind trust. If you are still here at the end of this video, you are not a victim. You are a health champion, someone who learns, understands, and takes ownership of their health. Let's build a community that understands clearly and acts correctly. And if you don't want to miss videos that can change your life, subscribe and turn on the notifications today.